Sometimes you find a guitar and you just can't help but smile. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I finally get to talk about this guitar because after a struggle of 4 years to sell it, it finally sold. That's right, we're talking about the 2000 Gibson Les Paul electric guitar, Collector's Dream. Okay, so here it is. It's a Gibson Les Paul Custom from the early 2000s. They're pretty nice guitars. Things to watch out for on these things, though. Neck humps are fairly common, especially on the reissue models. They tend to bump up in the neck up here by the fretboard area. And it's pretty common to get a fret nib gap forming on these things. But this is a limited edition, kind of promotional model. So let's go ahead and get our first glance at this thing. First off, it has a mix between a bird's eye and a quilt maple top. It's actually quite stunning. It has a teardrop-shaped honeyburst finish with black plastics in all gold hardware. We can tell it's got an ABR1 bridge, and it has the historic style top hat knobs on it. So that means this is likely some sort of a 68 reissue would be my best guess on these specs. Because you gotta remember, in the year 2000, all customs were not custom shop yet. I believe it's around 2003, 2004 when all customs finally get moved to the custom shop. But before then, it was only like the reissues. So that's why I think this one's probably built to 68 specs, which means you've got the ABR1 bridge, you'll have a long neck tenon in here, and you'll have the maple top versus the mahogany top of the 57 reissues. So it's a pretty nice looking custom, I think you'll agree, but then you get to our fretboard. Why do we have chicken feet on here? Is this a chicken foot signature guitar? No, that's this Explorer in Les Paul of Sammy Hagar. He's got an invisible one of those on the Explorer that you can only see at certain lighting situations. One day we will document the Red Rocker Explorer. Those things are just a little bit hard to find. But then I think we need to go back to our pickup covers. Ah, we've got something on there. Some sort of a raptor? Is it a dinosaur guitar? No, it's the National Wild Turkey Federation convention that was held in February of the year 2000. Okay, this is an official turkey guitar. You know, I guess I probably should have saved this episode for Thanksgiving because that's almost perfect right there. But no, it's just so interesting. Like, I'm sure a bird watcher might enjoy this because, yeah, it's a turkey foot on here, but you could just interpret it as whatever you want it to be. Now, unfortunately, the back photos aren't so good, but we can tell it's a mahogany back with a mahogany neck. You've got your custom shop decal back here, and it appears to be all original. So this thing falls into two categories I love: animal-inspired / influenced guitars, as well as the promo guitar history. So first, let's talk about animals. I'm just gonna name a few of them, but these things always seem to turn out fantastic. So like the Guitar Center exclusive Bats in Flight model, in both acoustic and Les Paul variations. They had the cool bats on the fretboard, maybe a little bit goofy looking, but it was pretty nice. But regardless of how you feel about that, the headstocks were awesome. The Rhino Les Paul Custom, even though it doesn't have a rhino on it, still kind of counts within the animal-influenced ones, because we had the introduction of the Apex head carve, which looked like a rhino horn. Why not make it a nice satin gray, as well as gloss gray variations? Only about 25 of each of those were made. You've got the big introduction of these, the Black Widow Les Paul, that actually has the Black Widow spider on the back and was the birth of the whole widowed concept, allegedly anyways. And you can also follow that up with the Cobra burst, that's got the Cobra on the back as well as a stinger. Among any of these other models, there are a lot of animal-influenced guitars out there, and they're so cool to me. But then you've got the promotional guitars. So late 90s, early 2000s, any company that wanted a signature guitar, Gibson was like, yes, we'll take your money and make you these things as either gifts for employees. Some of them actually got sold or given away. I mean, Gibson still does a little bit of this yet today, like with the Lexus Les Paul that they just recently did, but definitely nowhere near as prominent as it used to be when we had things like the Donzi Les Paul, which had no right to be as good as they were. Check out the videos. There's a reason I always bring those things up. They're awesome. Underwear signatures. The Gibson promotional Gibson Les Paul. All of the NASCAR guitars, including the NASCAR car guitar. So needless to say, blending all these kind of in together just made me kind of excited. But this thing sat on eBay for the better part of 4 years as far as I can remember. I mean, it's just such a very niche guitar. It looks like it's actually been played if you look at it right here, so it might not be in the best of condition, but it's kind of one of those ones where, you know, if you could pick it up for like $3,500, you'd be laughing, right? But it was listed at $8,000 USD. Now, people can ask whatever they want. Do I think it would ever sell for that much? No, but I was proven wrong. In case you guys don't know, you can actually find out how much things have sold for, even if it is a best offer accepted. I just use a site called watchcount.com. I've used them for years. You type in the number and it will show you. And according to these guys, 8,000. Someone paid full asking price. They found their right buyer, and it was a collector's dream for them. They got the turkey guitar. I don't regret not buying it, but that's just such a fun guitar. I had to share it with you guys. From a cool period in time in Gibson history to their willingness to do fun, unique, exotic things, even just as one-offs. But that's not all we're talking about today. We've got 3 others. Hey, look at this. You guys remember Cosmic Stew over here? The 335 Studio, the coolest one of the second batch of the Cosmics. You can see them all here on the screen. They're pretty nice, but it showed up at CME. So this one initially sold at $3,300, but now it's actually, wow, being sold at a discount. You don't see that too often. So that tells me somebody who bought this then traded it into Chicago Music Exchange, because they're definitely not in the business to lose money. But there we go. We finally get some good photos of the Cosmic Stew finish. None of the stock photography. I mean, technically CME is stock photography here, but at least they have the wooden backdrop put in there. You can really see all the colors come to life on this. The Gibson logo just looks a bit too low in my opinion on that one, but they probably had to put a new one in there. But I really like the 335 Studios with their baked maple fretboards. You gotta try those if you haven't. And I guess it's all the hubbub talking about those new space photos that they just recently did, so maybe we'll see another batch of these. But thank you, CME, for finally giving us some cool photos of that. Yeah. I mean, you go from this dark black to this in the light. Just imagine everything else. So this Gibson Firebird showed up today, and it's for sale by Lonnie over at Creamtone Music. You might know him for his aftermarket parts that a lot of people enjoy. But when I saw this, I thought, 76 Bicentennial Firebird in Capri Orange or something crazy and attacking. It's like, that has to be a refinish. So I had to click on his listing. He's got a beautiful backdrop here, a nice wooden table. That thing just looks bright orange. But then I get to this photo and it's like, what? I got catfished on it. I thought it was like some bright orange refin job, but no, it's just so contrasted against the back that the color of the wood just screams. So that was kind of a nice little touch right there. I mean, this is a very nice Firebird. Now, I was always questioning, why do people hate 70s Firebirds? I never got it. They always looked right to me, but now that I've, dove into the other Firebirds, it's just because they're not what a 60s Firebird is. I think that's the best way to put it. I mean, these Bicentennial birds are apparently pretty good. But what makes this different from, say, this counterpart over here from 1965 is the fact that you don't have the binding, you don't have the trapezoid inlays. So this is kind of like Firebird 1 territory over here. You still have your Firebird pickups. Now in this case, it looks like they've been swapped over to regular mini humbuckers. So that'll give this one an interesting sound. And oh, it looks like our strap buttons are missing on that. So, I mean, this is not exactly original, but it's just really the fretboard that really made these not as loved as they could have been. But they stayed this way throughout the 80s. But this particular one, unfortunately, had stock crack right here. Now, it doesn't look like the cleanest repair in the world, but if it's been holding up since the 80s, I mean, I guess it's probably good enough. It's just not like 100% you cannot see it style repair. That's just a glue and clamp job that appears to have been doing the job. But okay, it looks like somebody has our strap button back here. And then one probably back there. Looks like we've got an aftermarket case. And then this. Oh man, I love this so much. I probably would have liked it even better if they were all Slinkies, but every time they replace the strings on this thing, they put it on the case. And that's just such a cool, like, 80s vibe to it, black and pink, kind of like a checkered board-like design. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Alternate it every other time. But what I bet that started life as, every time they would change the strings, they would just glue it on so they knew, okay, I like those strings, let's keep using it. So at some point in time right here, they decided they wanted to try the different Slinky set. But that is a mod I do approve of for a vintage case. So it's listed at $3,000. So we've got some replaced parts and a headstock crack. I mean, comparative to everything else on the market, it seems like an okay price. So we'll have to see what it does end up selling for. But unfortunately, there's a bit of a sad story behind this. The local musician who loved to play this thing, he passed away a few years ago, so his wife contacted him to help him sell some guitars. Next up, I thought this was kind of interesting. A Gibson 100th Anniversary Medallion from 1994. 94 is a great year for Gibson. It's the first official full year of the custom shop. I mean, it technically started in late 1993, but things were very transitional in 1993 into early 94. So when they finally solidify, they do the whole Centennial edition guitars, and they came with these things, and you would find similar case candy to these. It's just a very special time in Gibson history because they were doing like the ultra highly flamed figured tops. It's the birth of, custom shop reissues. We're finally out of the prehistoric era. I mean, for example, here is one of the monster tops known as McAllister. I mean, it's in 1994 and it apparently sold for $20,000. I mean, Tom Murphy was a part of this era too, so I think that helps it a little bit, but there are some great guitars from this era. And it is pretty much the end of the custom shop edition decal. Kind of depends when in 94 the guitar was built, if you had it or not. So seeing one of these things for $20, I was like, all right. But then you said he's got 90 of them. I was tempted to pick it up until I knew that, because it just makes me think, are we sure these are legit? I mean, the story seems to make sense. They made too many, so they purged it off. So I've noticed somebody's been doing that with Posi-Lock strap locks. However, I really fear people are just making replicas and selling them as new old stock. Now this, it's very well might be legit, and I might want to buy one, but I thought it was cool to see it show up. But I think that is going to wrap it up for today. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.